camels in Minecraft are, well, they're just kind of a bad feature. Now, before you start yelling at me in the comments about how mean I am for saying that the camel is bad, it's not that I necessarily think camels in general are bad. I just think that they did a terrible job adding this mob to the game. I think one way to recognize the extreme badness of the camel is to look at all of the mobs together, because these are basically most of the mobs that you're going to normally find. I know there's rabbits and stuff, but in the overworld, these are most of the passive mobs that exist. And if we start to go and look at all of them, you'll see that a lot of them have some things in common, but usually they're all pretty different. Like cows, they drop leather and they give milk. Sheep, they give you wool and they eat grass. Pigs, they follow carrots and you can ride them. Horses, you can ride them. Llamas, you can ride them. And camels, you can ride them. Okay, so you see, it's actually not so creative after all. And that is the first reason I'm annoyed with the camel, is because it's literally the 4th mob added to the game that you can ride in that just spawns around normally in the overworld. Like, literally every single mob does this already. If I wanted to find a mob to ride, I would find a horse or a llama or a pig. I would not need, why do we need another one of these? No one who is walking around their Minecraft world and said, you know what I need right now? Another rideable mob. No. No one has ever said that. And that's straight up just because all the ones we already have are kind of bad. Like, who actually goes around riding on a horse? When was the last time you rode a horse in Minecraft? Never. And that's because they're just generally bad. They're slower than things like boats and elytra, and since those things are reasonably easy to access, you can only really use these things early game. Now, to explain what I mean by like early game and stuff, let me show you like a little chart. So to understand what I'm trying to tell you here, I want to show you something. So if we start at iron, right, this is basically where you start. This is called early game, right? This is when you don't have much stuff. You're kind of living off of iron things. Then you move on, you go to the nether, you get a bit more OP, then you move on, you beat the ender dragon, you get an elytra, you're kind of really set, and then you move on to end game or late game, whatever you want to call this, which is where you have like all kinds of farms and stuff. You're basically living the rich lifestyle, and so you've just got this progression throughout the many sections of the game, and horses are useless in most of these, because these, like, the only time you're ever going to use a horse is really right here, when you haven't beat the Ender Dragon yet, but you also have a lot of stuff like saddles. Saddles are incredibly rare. You can only actually find them in chests, which means that you never end up using horses or anything, because guess what? You haven't done that much exploring when you first started out of the game, so you don't have it there. But then you get saddles, and then you immediately try to upgrade and get elytra, and once you get elytra, you don't even need it. But even in this, you have boats, and boats are way faster than any rideable mob, especially since the rideable mobs, they can't cross over rivers and stuff. And let me tell you, there are just rivers kind of just chilling all around your Minecraft world. So really, if you want to use a horse or any rideable mob, you're not going to do it here because you need a saddle, and you're not going to do it in either of these because you have elytra. So now there's only one option left to you, which is this mid game. And there's still many reasons that you wouldn't want to, like, as I already said, boats and stuff like that. But for the camel, this is even worse, because if you want to ride a camel, you have to be in a desert village at the time. Like, you don't even just have to have a saddle, you have to be in a saddle, because these things only spawn in one place in the entire world, and that is desert villages. So if you want to ride a camel, there's only one time. You have to be in the mid game, you have to have a saddle, you have to not be near a river, so you can't use boats, and you have to be in a desert village. There's like, when was the last time you were in that circumstance? Like, actually, when was the last time that you were chilling in a desert village mid-game with no rivers around? Guess what? It probably hasn't happened in a while, if it's even ever happened at all. So that's just one of the reasons why I think that this mob is just completely just useless to the game. Like, why did they add it? It's absolutely pointless. But you know what? Let's pretend real quick that I am in a village, and I happen to have all of these things. This boat, you know what? We're just going to pretend that it's useless, even though there's a load of water over here. And I've got my saddle, so I can go ahead and saddle up this. So this is already a rare circumstance, right? Like, you see where I am in the game. I have iron armor. I'm in a desert village. And for whatever reason, I don't want to use my boat to get around. Who says I'm even going anywhere right now? Like, what if my base was just like right over here near this? Or what if I was just like exploring on foot? What if I didn't even see the camel? Like, I'm just walking around and I just didn't see the camel. Or if I'm a new player, I might not even know how to use a camel, right? But say you do get the camel, right? You finally get your camel. You start off. It's not that fast. And it's not the greatest. It does have this little boost ability, so that's, I guess, kind of cool. But again, when are you going to use this? How often? Right? I'm in a desert. There are no like things to jump over in deserts. Right? I'm walking around this desert. This was the first desert I found. Like, I didn't spawn this in or anything like that. But like, there's this, but I can't jump over. If I try to jump over this, yeah, things are not going to end well. and I just took a load of damage because I fell down this hole. So the jump ability is also kind of useless. So it's just kind of another useless feature that's being added to the game. No one is ever going to use camels in this game. But not only that, but it also just makes the original rideable mobs that are already in the game, these three right here, it just makes them a little bit more useless, because now if you're never going to want to ride these things if you're in the desert, because there's this guy who's cooler, even though he's actually useless. It just is so redundant. Like, did Minecraft really need 4 rideable mobs when no one even uses any of them anyways? No, it didn't. There is literally no point in adding another rideable mob. So if I'm being all complaining right now, what does actually make a good feature? Well, first off, it needs to be able to be used in all 4 stages of the game. And so if I look over here, say cows, for instance, right? Cows are useful in all 4 stages of the game. Early on, right, they're the only way, or the main way, to get the earliest armor set in the game, leather. No one uses leather armor, but you still do need it for leather, and they're also a really good food source early on in the game. Now, mid-game, you also need for leather, because enchantment tables, you need leather for enchantment tables, and so you're still going to be using cows. Cows are easily bred, and so yeah, they're basically the best early game / mid-game way of getting leather. In fact, even up until endgame, even in endgame, I'm going to call this late game in this endgame. Even up until late game, they're still basically the best way of getting leather, because end game, yeah, you can get yourself a hogland farm, and that's a bit better. But before that, like, cows are honestly your best bet, and they also are a pretty great food source. And the entire game, they're like the also only way, if not the best way, to get milk in the entire game. And so cows, I would say, are generally a well-balanced feature, right? They're useful in all areas of the game, but they're not too overpowered in any area of the game. Unlike camels, which are just not useless at all. So why then do I like some things like the warden that are really only useful for one area of the game also? Well, the thing with the warden is that I honestly like it more because when was the last time you were walking around in Minecraft and you said, you know what, I feel like I need another rideable mob in Minecraft right now? No, you never said that. But you know what you did say? You know what? Minecraft needs more cave biomes. That is definitely a thing you said. Minecraft needs more underground structures. That is also a thing you said. Minecraft needs to be able to fit more playstyles, like the horror playstyle. That is another thing that you said. And that is why the 1.19 update, and basically all Minecraft updates up until now, have been really good. And they've kind of followed this thing where people have actually wanted the features that have been added. No one asked specifically for the warden, but they asked for the kind of thing that the warden was. Hey, we want more cave biomes, we want more structures, and we want a horror aspect to the game. Right? No one said, hey, Mojang, you know what? I really don't think that the horse and the llama and the pig are enough. So, like, can you give us camels too? Really, just please. Like, we really want them. No one said that. So why did they add them? Well, I'm going to tell you the answer to why they added them, because they actually told us why they're adding this feature in Minecraft Live 2022. When they were talking about this feature, this is one of the things that they said why they were adding it. So I'm just going to let you hear the clip.
We talked about how this update is a lot about self-expression through representation, and I just love that so many more people now around the world can sort of see an experience they remember and experience from their life in the game.
Okay, so basically he just said that the only reason they actually want to add camels is because there's people around the world who play with camels sometimes, and so now they get to do it in Minecraft. Basically, it's a public relations thing. It's so that people can say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that Mojang is actually including all those people from third world countries around the world. And so now we get to basically just have the community and social media be like all googly-eyed over Mojang and how they're being so inclusive. But that's not actually Mojang's job. Mojang's job is to make a good game, and certain features that they're adding recently just aren't any good, and that's because they're not actually trying to make a good game anymore. They're trying to make a game that they're not even trying to make a game. They're just trying to do public relations. They're just trying to, you know, make the community happy, whether or not they have a good game. And that is why I think this game is honestly on its last leg. Because if Mojang keeps this up and keeps just saying, oh, we're just going to add features that people want instead of features that actually makes the game good, no. Because no one even wanted this feature because they knew it wasn't going to make the game good. No one has been asking for another rideable mob. And the new features are also just a way of kind of selling the game. So people can be like, oh my gosh, did you hear that Mojang is adding camels and they can like jump and stuff now? Because, you know, horses couldn't already jump or anything like that. No, surely not. Surely not. So it's so frustrating to me that the only reason they're adding, and I don't have anything against people who live with camels when they were kids or anything like that. What I have against is the fact that Mojang feels like to be all inclusive of all minority groups, they have to add a feature to the game that is useless to the game anyways, right? Like, if you want to make people feel included, sure, you can post on social media all day long about it, but don't ruin our game just because you want to have better public relation and for more people to say, oh my goodness, we love you so much, Mojang, thank you so much for adding this camel, it really made my day. No, that's not what we're wanting, because this is an unbalanced feature. It's just generally not good, right? It's not a good feature. So why are they adding it? For public relations. Now, the last issue I have with camels is honestly kind of a bit more nitpicky, to be honest, but I do still think it needs to be said. So the texture, I mean, come on, guys. Can we really not complain with the texture right now? Like, it's such a simple texture, right? You look at other mobs. This is a mob from like so many years ago, and it is way more detailed than this just kind of flat colored. Like, from a distance, that looks like it's the same color. The entire camel looks like it's the exact same color. It's a general, just kind of strange, seems like a kind of sloppy model that was made by like a kid, to be honest. Not to be like, you know, rude to kids or whatever, but you know, unexperienced people are unexperienced. That's just kind of the point. But yeah, this model is just generally not good. And also the animation for standing up is just weird. You know why? Because we'd have never had animations for standing up and sitting down before. In fact, you know what? I'll show you the closest thing that we've ever had to having a stand up sitting down animation. You see that? There's no animation. It just shoves its rear end into the ground just like that. Right? The camel has this animation. Now, why on earth did they add the camel animation when no other passive mobs have an animation like this? And the answer is quite simple. This guy. Because this guy was so successful and did such a good job. And he has an animation for coming out of the ground and going back in the ground. So why wouldn't we just add it to all the other mobs in the game? Because that'll get us more money, right? Wrong! It was good for the warden because the warden was supposed to be unique and it added atmosphere. And the warden's whole thing was atmosphere. The camel does not add atmosphere. The camel just sits around and stares all day and is useless, and then sits down whenever he feels like it, which is, by the way, useless. So generally the animations are bad and the texture is bad and the entire idea behind the camel is bad. And so that is why I honestly think that Mojang should not have added camels into Minecraft. Now, feel free to disagree with me if you like. This is just kind of my argument and me telling Mojang how I feel. Hopefully someone from their end sees this. But either way, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.